This set of characters here is called literal string. It means string expressed literally. We quickly recognize it by seeing some text in double quotes, double quotation marks. So yes, the class, we're not going to be using classes for a couple of weeks at least, but we need to recognize that each Java program, all of its executable class code needs to be hosted by some class or multiple classes. In our case, I call it main application class, I guess, and that includes the keyword class, and that includes the name of the class right here. This is called, I typically casually say name of class or name of variable or name of method. It's just normal names that we create, hopefully intuitive. Name of the package, but in the technical language documentation, they often use identifier as instead of name. So class identifier, in general identifier. The technical term for name here would be identifier. And identifier can have, there are some restrictions on it, so it can begin only with letter, underscore, dollar sign, and it cannot begin with digit. So I don't think we're going to be, our intent is going to be to abuse any of this set of rules, but do not use underscores because they're mostly for system library use. Do not use dollar signs. They're also for system library use. Pretty much it needs to start with a letter. It can include digits. For example, I could name it main app, let's say 0910, which is kind of like today's date, 2013. I could do this, right? I could do this. The only other restriction is that unfortunately, because of the harsh regulations of Java saying that, remember, if you want to have packages, you better have a corresponding subdirectory, subfolder with the same name. Same with classes. This public class has to be stored in a file. The name of the file, we already know, is not this. It's main app. So casually renaming classes becomes painful. Instead, there is a way to right-click and say refactor, I think. Refactor, and you can say rename. So Netbeans will be smart enough to change the name of your class and also change the name of the file in which it gets stored. Unless absolutely necessary, try to stick with some intuitive names so that you don't have to go through this pain. But renaming methods is easier. But again, a topic for another story, for another day. Requirements for identifiers, we briefly talked about that. And there are also Java keywords, which we will see in the next presentation. Program comments we covered before. There are multi-line comments. There are single-line comments. And this is how the single-line comments look like. It's just they begin with 2 slashes and continue on till the end of the line. So block comments start with slash asterisk and the opposite on the other side. But you can have multiple lines. Sometimes these types of comments can be used in line. I'll show you how. For example, I could insert a comment right here. Although it's officially called multi-line comment, I can say prog args, something like that, something silly like that. If I wanted to insert a comment right in the middle of any other part of syntax, you can use it in line like this, okay? So sometimes it's helpful, especially describing method parameters or something like that. Or you want to temporarily rename or remove part of it or something, you can use this little facility. That's helpful tip on using it. That pretty much wraps up. We also talked about the command line, so I'm going to jump out of this and move on to the next presentation, which is our second week presentation, which will be a little bit more relaxing because we're now in the second week and we also have Thursday to cover.